It is 7:01 on Thursday, April 10th. This is the regular council meeting for the city of Alburnett. I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Brings us to roll call. Counselor Trump,
Present.
Counselor Bosenberg,
Present.
Counselor Sukup,
Present.
Counselor West,
Here.
Counselor Myers.
Present.
Let the record reflect that we do have a quorum to conduct a business tonight. With that, I would seek a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Sukup. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by West. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Carries. Okay, item number 5 on the agenda is the public hearing for the budget amendment number 2 for FY25. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Moved by Bosenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Myers. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, and we are open at 7:03 p.m. All right, so first page of your packet, well, page 2, following the agenda, we do have proof of publication of this public hearing. I don't know if we received any comments into City Hall. I've not heard of any. Any comments from the public on the FY25 budget amendment? All right, doing a quick review here. We are adding $30,000 to business type activities. What that means is we need to add for wages, benefits, and equipment purchase within sewer. So this is not our general fund. This is actually within our sewer fund. We have projected that we were going to run short on wages, and then we took an opportunity. We've talked about the mower purchase, so we took the opportunity to get that into this year's budget. That is what our budget amendment is. Any comments, questions from council? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to close the public hearing.
So
Moved by Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trump. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are closed at 7:04 p.m. Brings us to item number 6, which is resolution 04-2025-01, adopting the second budget amendment for FY25. I'll go ahead and read this one out loud. Resolution 04-2025-01, resolution adopting the second budget amendment for fiscal year 2025, whereas the city of Alburnett published the required notice on March 22nd, 2025 concerning the budget amendment for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. Whereas a public hearing was held on April 10th, 2025 in accordance with the published notice. Whereas the budget amendment is needed to increase the spending authority by $30,000 due to wage and benefit increases for new hires and for the purchase of essential operating equipment. Whereas the budget amendment does not change the property tax levy in the current fiscal year. Whereas the Alburnett City Council, after allowing the public to speak on said budget amendment, gave final consideration to the proposed budget amendment. Now therefore it be resolved that the City Council of the City of Alburnett, Iowa does hereby adopt the budget amendment for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 as attached herein. Be it further resolved that the city clerk is directed to certify and file the budget amendment as adopted to the Lynn County. Do I have a motion to approve resolution 04-2025-01 as read?
So
moved by Sukup. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by, I'll give that one to Myers. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Counselor Trump,
Aye.
Counselor Bozenberg,
Aye.
Counselor Sukup,
Aye.
Counselor West,
Aye.
Counselor Myers.
Aye.
With that, the motion passes. All right, Joe, how's your packet coming over there?
That's not.
You can peek off, Dave. All right, page number 5 is our sheriff's report. We do not have a deputy here present with us tonight, so according to the report from March 13th through April 10th, there were 23 calls for service and the 43 hours were met. If you have any questions or concerns, you can send those my way and we will get those to Major Colston. As far as I know, everything's been running smoothly, so that is your sheriff's report. That brings us to citizen comments. We have 2 types of comments in the city of Alburnett, those for agenda-related items and non-agenda-related items. If you are on the agenda, we will allow you to speak at that time. So this is just if you have comments concerning an agenda-related item. We do ask that you state your name and address clearly for the record and limit comments to 5 minutes. Camera up here. So with that, I would seek any citizen comments for agenda-related items.
Are you gonna address those bids on Woodhart Street?
So that is not on the agenda, so I'll have you wait until non-agenda. So give me about 30 seconds. Any comments on agenda-related items?
We were supposed to be on the agenda.
So agendas for if there's council action, so we'll just have you speak during non-agenda, which is fine. All right, hearing none. Any comments for non-agenda related items? Mr. Hill, we'll go ahead and recognize you, sir.
Jim Hill. Are you gonna address those bids on Woodhart Street for the repairs?
Yes, sir. So we only received 1 bid to date, and it is for to raise it rather than replace it. And so we do have calls out. We are hoping to have at least 1 bid to be able to compare to repair, like for a tear out and a repair. With that said, we have a meeting next week. We have a special meeting already on the books for our budget session. And so we'll be adding it to that agenda. We're pushing this week. We have not gotten any responses. So we're calling and asking contractors to get us those responses. And so we're going to give it 1 more week and then it will be on the agenda for next week. So
Myself.
we have a meeting next Wednesday, so it's in 6 days. So we have some contractors lined up to get us those bids. So that is our timeline. That is what I can offer.
Found out hours on. This is gone. I've argued. I've talked to the companies. They want to have some positive input from this tomorrow.
Well, I can share with them exactly, or we can issue you another notice of where we are, but that is where we are at. We received 1 bid. And so we are hoping to get a competitive bid for a replacement rather than just lifting the concrete. And that is the response that we've received thus far.
Can you give me something positive like that
Absolutely.
tonight or tomorrow?
Yep, absolutely. I'll make sure you have that.
I
And
have to-
it's actually unusual that we have 2 meetings in 1 month, but we happen to already have a special meeting scheduled for Wednesday, the 16th. And so we are pushing some contractors to get us some bids, so we'll have it available by then and council can take action.
You'll have positive answer by then?
Yes, by Wednesday. Yep. Anything else, Mr. Hill? All right. Hearing none, are there any other comments on non-agenda related items?
My name is Blair Nejo. I live at 106 Strong Drive. You have questions about the water bill? We're not presently living there right now, but I own the property and I pay taxes and whatever. Lights, gas and water, I guess they shut the water off. And they are wanting me to pay $65 a month when I'm not using any water. But I do have electricity and gas there. And so whatever usage is there, I pay. Well, I have a concerned about that high of a water bill for someone that's not using any water. And then they came and turned it off. And now they wanna charge me $100 to turn it off, which I think is way too high. By sticking a pipe in the ground and giving it half a turn, I know, I've replaced wire lines. I just, getting to be real expensive, and I'm, you know, I own the property. And I just think that's just too much money. I mean, if I'm not using the water, I can understand paying a maintenance fee like I would do with any other utility. But I guess the rules say from 0 to 1,000 gallons is, you know, like $65. Well, I think that it should be raised from 0 to 10 gallons, you know, a maintenance fee or something. But to pay $65 a month for water, I'm not using. Yeah, I think that's just not right. I mean, I'd like to see that the council could amend that to, because basically, you know, we're not living there right now, but, you know, we spent a lot of money fixing it up. So it's, eventually we might move back. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds, but I just don't think that's fair to me to pay that kind of money for water I'm not even using on one drop.
So we appreciate your comment, and it's something we can take under advisement. We do look at what we charge for utilities regularly. It's something we're actually going to be digging into just to make sure we can cover our costs. So
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying that I know that I can't be the only one that has a house here that I'm staying, you know, residing in.
So we do offer within our ordinance, and this is the $100 that he's referring to. We do offer for temporary shut off, primarily for like our snowbirds and folks who are not inhabiting.
Sure.
So that allows for up to 4 months where we will waive that minimum. There is a shut off and
Yeah.
turn on fee.
That seems a little.
We can look, it is per our ordinance, and so that is how it's established right now. So again, we can take that under consideration as well. What I will say for the shut offs, it's more than just turning a valve. I mean, we've got a dispatch, so we've got his time as well as doing that. There's computer work that needs to be done in the system to suspend those accounts, make notes to be able to turn it back on at the right time, send it back out. So there is administrative time that goes into it as well. We will take that under consideration, and it's something that we can look at, similar with the minimums. But yes, right now the minimum is $65, kind of regardless of usage. Again, we've got expenses regardless of how much water goes through the system. We have to test it every day. You know, we have chemicals that go into it. We've got electricity that runs those types of things. So that is
where I live now is $35 a month. So, and then they do the same thing. They have to test it, and public well, it's, you know, it's the same. I understand that there are costs involved, but don't think that there's $65 worth of costs involved.
So I will say we do our best to balance with our actual expenses. We're not putting a lot in there. So it's something that we can look into for sure. I will also throw out that the reason we do the 4-month shut off is that it is established in Iowa code that if you are 6 months or more without essential utilities, it can be considered an abandoned property. And so that is the city's method for preventing us from having to investigate into abandoned properties as well. So
it's not abandoned. I'm paying taxes on that property.
But it's if anyone's living there, so it doesn't harbor squatters, rodents, those types of things. So we have had, it's not an ownership concern, it's a livability concern. And again, that's per Iowa code. We don't set those rules.
Yes, I have a question. That 65 is that if the water's hooked up, 'cause right now it's shut off. So why are
Well, we can talk about your particular situation privately if you would like, but yes, if there's a water meter and service to the home, unless you have notified us of a temporary vacancy of a 4-month or less vacancy, there's a $65 minimum. Yes. Any other comments on non-agenda related items? Moves us into the mayor's report. The only thing I wanted to ensure we had a call out, and I actually already mentioned it during comment, is we do have a meeting on April 16th. This is a special meeting where we will have the public hearing for the FY26 budget. And then following that, council will be asked to take action to approve that budget, adopt that budget for FY26. While we prefer to do those at our regular meetings, the way the timeline was this year between publication requirements and having to wait until March 31st to have our first property tax meeting, we did have to call a special. So hopefully everyone can join us that night. We'll go over the FY26 budget. So again, that is on Wednesday, April 16th at 5 p.m. We have that special meetings. That is the only thing I have for my mayor's report tonight. Council comments. I'll start to my left with Councilor Myers.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor West.
Nothing.
Councilor Sukup.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Bozenberg.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Trump. Brings us to written reports. Fire Department. We'll recognize this chief. I'll recognize the fire department.
I think the chief sent you a, update on what we've been doing and what's been going on. We are looking forward to upgrading our status on the medical side from the EMT level to an advanced EMT level, which means we would be able to enhance the communities that we're serving here, with more medical, medications, that kind of thing that is needed. I believe as an AEMT, that advanced level, we can't do cardiac drugs. We can do just about everything else, which would be very nice. And for some people, we could get that IV started and everything before an ambulance gets in here and everything. So there's a lot that can be done for our people that are in need at that time. So that's one of the things. And I think my fire chief over there is engaged in that class now too. So, and if it helps anybody to know, I ordered the book and I'll study with him. So that'll help him too. We did send out letters for our inactive member status situation. So those who are not, those that are on our department but don't attend trainings, meetings, whatever, they have been notified at this point. I think you guys saw that 136 went in for repair and it is now back. It's in service and it's our first engine out the door if we have a fire. Okay. We have several people that's going to the fire nugget pump operation training that's held in North Liberty. That'll be on May 4th. Basically, I think that's about it at this point. Our last meeting here for training was on communication. Communication's huge because lots of times we're dealing with other departments. Sometimes you can be out of county, not for us so much, but other places end up where they're talking with other counties and they have to deal with that. So if you were on the ambulance service, for instance, out of Center Point, they're in every county around here. So that makes it difficult. So if you're trying to hear what's going on or trying to help them because they need help, that's another story. So communication's huge for us. Outside of that, I don't think there's too much more. I know that I gave you information on the junior firefighter, our cadet program, and you were going to give that to your attorney to look at.
I will say it escaped me until today when I pulled all of my things out and I was like, oh yeah, Vernon gave me that. So, I will commit to getting that done in the very near term. So.
We're ready to go recruit.
Perfect. Yes.
That's all I have unless the chief over there has something else to add.
I did see a note about radios, so thank you for getting a quote on that because I know those are not.
I did get one quote today, actually, to replace what we have. 1-for-1, it's $35,000.
I said 50, so.
Yeah, so we're gonna try to actively look for a grant and see if we can't get that covered.
Just a few dollars.
Yeah. Probably.
Right, that's what it was. I guess the other thing that you saw on his letter to you guys was we have the Easter egg hunt and fire drill this Saturday. And we are doing CPR classes, because the graduating class for 2025 has to have that to graduate per Iowa law. So the catch is we have like 80-some students. That's a little difficult, so we have gotten Monroe Fire to come in to join us to teach, and we will be holding 4 sessions in 2 days. So those kids are gonna be busy while they're there, but they get to also talk to Lynn County Sheriff's Department. They come in and do a program with them, and we teach them fire prevention and life-saving skills from at home. So they learn other things besides just CPR and first aid.
Wonderful. Anything else for our fire department? 136, everything went as expected.
I didn't hear anything more, so yeah.
Perfect.
It's not leaking.
No puddle.
No puddles.
No puddle.
Anybody else? Fire department? Okay. Next, you have the city administrator's report. Questions I can answer there? All right, brings us to Public Works. Like, anything to add?
A couple updates, street sweeping, they came, we did that. Yeah, results back from well 2, ammonia went down again, so still got a ways to go. We're gonna keep flushing it and sending bottles once a week to hopefully get it down where it needs to be. And happy to say I passed my wastewater test yesterday.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
No, other than that, that's all I got for updates.
Any questions? I should have thrown in my mayor's report a thank you to Pierce Tobin for their fast response and on that water main break and fixing it correctly. That was a head scratcher.
Quick.
All right, if there's no questions, we'll move on to city clerk treasury. So again, you've got a report in your packet. Vicki is currently at the IMFOA conference in Ankeny, I believe it is, so, or Des Moines, so hopefully bringing back lots of good information. Questions on the clerk's report? Looking at profit and loss, we're on page 11. There was one I was going to ask her about. Community and economic development. It does appear that we have gone over, but I think that's because that's where the TIF payment comes from, and TIF is so weird. So I'm just gonna make sure, I'll check in with her and just make sure everything is accounted for correctly there. But otherwise, everything else looked good in profit and loss, as well as the treasurer's report with the balances for each of the accounts. So any questions there? None. We'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Bozenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Zukup. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. All right, new business item A, liquor license renewal for Buds. So this you will find on page 24. That's where it starts. So we've received the application along with certification for the bond, the $5,000 bond. You'll find that on page 28. That is required because it is a Class E license for retail sales. So just so you're aware that one's a little bit different. And the rest of the paperwork is just related to that bond to ensure that it has been paid and is in place. Otherwise, it's my understanding there are no changes to the license. This is just a renewal. Any questions? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to approve the liquor license for Bud's LLC. Moved by Trum. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by West. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Carries. Liquor license renewal for Fuller's Pub and Grub. So this starts on page 37. So similar, it's my understanding there are no changes. This is a Class C rather than a Class E. And so you notice we have a certificate of liability because the bond is not required for C. So all of this has gone through, both of these have gone through the Iowa Alcoholic Beverage Division website, and so they're in order. Any questions on the liquor license renewal for Fuller's Pub and Grub? Seek a motion to approve.
Make motion to approve the liquor license for Fuller's.
Motion by Bosenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Myers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Motion carries. Special event permit, page 40. So special event permit for June 14th, 2025. Fire Department Lions Club Annual Car Show. Who am I recognizing? That's Vern, the one with the binder.
So we are in cahoots with the Lions Club at the moment, and we're getting ready for our 7th annual car show here. Our rain date will be the 15th. In case it does pour on us on the 14th, because then nobody will want to bring their cars in, obviously. So those are the big things. And I don't know if the Lions Club brought the insurance in for you guys yet.
I have not heard. I'm unsure.
I will check on it to make sure.
Is Jeannie handling that?
That's my
I
understanding.
thought she was bringing it in,
Or
but she's been kind of tied up. She and I were both tied up with a funeral this week, so we haven't seen daylight till today.
Yeah, and Vicky's been, so it may be on the desk and we just haven't gotten through it.
I'll check.
If she hasn't, one thing that came up with when we went through our insurance renewal, when we talked to Chris, was that the city should really be added as an insured on those policies, an additional insured. That way, if something happens on our property, that policy will cover the city as well. So she's not already pulled it. If she can add the city as an additional insured.
See, that insurance comes straight from the National Lions. So they wouldn't even know about this place.
Oh, because it's like a broader policy.
Right.
It's not a local one.
Right.
Okay. I can ask Chris. We didn't know about that requirement until this year when we talked to her, so I can ask her
If
and,
that's an issue, you'll have to let us know.
okay,
We'll figure it out. Okay?
okay. Sounds good. Have her bring us what she's got and then we'll check with Chris and just see if we need anything else.
And I know that the Lions Club will have the gambling permit because we're doing like a 50-50 raffle and that kind of thing, okay? Other things that we have, I do want to ask if I can, would you guys be willing to let us use that part of the building to store like food and stuff on that day? So that we can get stuff here ahead of time,
Yeah, I know we've done that before.
if that would be okay. And the
It
trophies-
used to be your building too.
But, and we've got trophies that are coming in because there's a ton of those that will be in here. We need a place to store all that. And we have it right here, so we don't have far to go. Another thing was, you guys have barricades and stuff to block our street.
Yeah, we'll provide those.
Same from last year, yeah.
We attached a, map of what we have. Other than that, we'll have like 10 by 10 canopies on each entrance on that end of the street. And this end, Our trash stuff is gonna be taken care of. Ron Hoover's taking care of that. He's the garbage man at the present time, so to speak. We'll have 2 areas for concessions at this point. Just right here, we still will keep this open here, to make sure that if the mail truck comes in.
Thank you. That was my next question, when things were, gonna wrap up.
Cause it should be done, we should be done by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but just in case he would come early, we will make sure that they can get in. And we'll also make sure that we have the ability, if we have an emergency call, that we have access to get in and out of here without disturbing everybody else. So that was crucial. And what else did I have on here? Guys have a gator.
We have the side by side.
Would it be allowable if we could have the gator help us transfer stuff down to our concession stands?
As long as it's driven by a fire department member, since you are on the city insurance.
We got that, don't we? We could do that. If it's okay, we do that.
Yeah, I think you used it last year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you
Because
did.
it was very convenient, because we didn't have anything small enough. We have trucks and they're kind of big.
Mhm.
They make a lot of noise too.
And hard to turn around out here on the street. It doesn't work so well. Then, is there anything else? Insurance is the big thing that I gotta get into. You make sure you have that. Is the biggest thing, I think.
And we can approve contingent upon that.
Okay, and do you need proof of a gambling license? Or-
We don't know. City doesn't.
So it's just.
Y'all need to hold on to it, but yeah, just insurance for us.
I'll check on that.
Any questions for Verna? Don't thank them yet. They haven't approved it. I have a motion to approve the special event permit for the Fire Department Lions Club Annual Car Show scheduled for June 14th, 2025, with a rain date of June 15th, 2025, contingent upon them producing a certificate of insurance. Moved by Trump. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Sukup. Conflict of interest? What? I'm just kidding. I'll give it to Sukup. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thank you for coming in. All right, next item on the agenda is a special event permit for June 21st, 2025, the AC/DC Bike Night fundraiser. So this is on page 43 of your packet. And I believe, are you here to talk to us about your event?
Yes, I am. I'm Eli Smith. I'm a new Smith with the ACDC. There's also a member. We came up with a new idea this year to raise a little bit of funds before our benefit day. So we came up with a bike night, wanted to kind of stay away from poker runs and rides and stuff, try to make it just a friendly thing for kids to come down, look at bikes, etc., have food. I do have a copy of our insurance policy for you guys. I didn't know exactly what to bring. So we have the whole thing here. It did print out a little funny, but I put the meat of the business all up front for you guys.
Okay.
So
I can take a glance at it.
there you go. And then, when I did the application, I snagged up Verna's map and I revised it for our event.
Okay.
So for the car show, she had a little bigger of an area. I shrunk it down and I also made it so Bud's is accessible when you come around to it. This is my first time doing this kind of stuff, so I don't know where to really go from here.
You're good. We'll ask questions and you did a great job. Thanks for being here. We appreciate representation. One comment, Verna mentioned it. We learned a lesson last year during benefit day that the mail truck does pick up later in the evenings on Saturdays, which I was surprised. So I can't remember if it's like 3:30 to 5. Yeah, There's four, somewhere in there. So just make sure you communicate with the Postmaster General in Central City and they can either adjust that schedule or you'll have to make sure they can get in by Buds. They can't come around the back because the truck doesn't, it's a straight axle truck and so it
Correct.
can't make the corner.
The times on the application, I believe
4:30 to 10:30 is what we've got.
10:30. That the 4:30 mark is a little bit ahead of time.
Okay,
So the advertisement for it starts at 6.
okay,
So
perfect.
it'll be a 6 to 9, a little bit of time before the prep, a little bit of time after the tear down. It's not gonna be much tear down. We're in cahoots with Fuller's and Gibby's for food, drinks, and restrooms.
Okay, good. Because restrooms were my next question, so.
We don't really have a really good idea how many we're gonna bring in, being such a new thing. So if the council thinks that we should get some porta johns, we can absolutely make that happen. Not a problem. So, it's whatever you guys think on that one, just let us know. And we'll do it. The other question would be one that Berna had for the car show is, blocking off the roads, the signs, if we could get the same kind of setup, that would be amazing.
Yep, we'll provide those. Given how late years go, if you guys could just take them down, like lay them in the grass or, on
Yeah, absolutely.
down the alley or whatever when you're finished, but just so Mac doesn't have to come back out late at night and collect them, but, otherwise, yeah, we'll have them staged and ready to go for you.
We will also, we're waiting on our approval for our gambling license for a raffle as well. We'll have 2 sets of raffles that night. Do you remember what we decided, Bernard? Was it the raffle? I guess it doesn't really matter.
That won't matter here. We just gotta get the gambling license in place.
Yeah.
And that's gonna cover us those 2 extensively too.
Okay. I think I'm covering everything here.
Any questions from council?
Yeah, so you're just gonna have people come in with their bikes, kind of sit there and let people look at their bikes, is that right?
Yeah, McGrath Power Sports has been doing this for a number of years. They do it, last Thursday every month during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna have, I didn't mention this, I'm sorry. We are gonna have live music. It will be, my father and his band. So it'll be live music, bikers come in, park their bike, they kind of just visit, look around, look at different bikes, listen to music, have some food and drink, just kind of get everybody relaxed and have fun. And that's when we're gonna be selling our raffle tickets too. That's our fundraiser, I mean? Kind of grease.
You gotta wait till they're relaxed and having fun, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we also are, opening it up for, side by sides. So they're more than welcome to come in as well. I know that we have a lot of people around here side by sides. I didn't want to exclude them. Cause I think that has to be fun for the kids and the families and stuff, so.
Just kind of want it to be a laid back event, but fun. That's the idea.
Any other questions from council? Regarding the portable toilets, I mean, you're in cooperation with the local businesses. I don't think we need a requirement there. We just don't like that being an assumption, that those would be open to a public or an event hosted by someone else. But if you're in cooperation with, then I think that's more than sufficient.
So go ahead and clear that with the businesses again. If we do have to get porta johns, is there a specific area that we would have to put them? Or?
No.
Okay.
No.
Usually don't they just put them like kind of on Buzz's corner?
Yeah, they kind
Right-
of know where
Right
to,
there.
they pick a flat spot and they're good. So,
You know.
I do have one request for both special events, primarily, so yours will be late enough, this isn't a big deal, I know you guys, this is an annual thing, so you're really good, just making sure the businesses are aware, so the bank will have an impact, any other.
But everybody's been notified here,
Perfect.
just about everybody down here, because they took flyers.
And then I just want to be super clear that this is, that what council is approving is for you to be able to shut down the street, which is public property. And we still need to be respectful of private property. So with any kind of parking or anything like that, make sure they stay on the public side of the sidewalk. So I know for the car show, you guys are out parking and do a nice job. So just something to be aware of. We have had some issues with private property. So just making sure they know to stay on the public side. Otherwise, I don't see anything else. And again, theirs is late enough on Saturday that the majority of the businesses will not, like the insurance, the bank, be impacted. City Hall's closed on Saturdays, so. So you are welcome to block off in front of City Hall, because we're not in here on Saturdays, especially not that way. We'll just have Mac take the truck home that weekend or something, that way if you were to have to get in, you don't have to worry about it. All right, any other questions from council? Hearing none, I would seek a motion to, do you all have a rain date, or is this your one and only?
Only.
Okay, perfect. I would seek a motion to approve the special event permit for June 21st, 2025 for the ACDC Bike Night fundraiser from 4:30 to 10:30 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Sukup. Do I have a second?
Okay.
Second by West. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries. Thanks for being here. You did a great job. We'll check with and make sure this is sufficient for insurance. It looks like it is simple. Adding the city as an additional insured. So I've got that lady's email address, so we'll send it over to her what we need, and then, yeah. Yeah, thank you. All right. That brings us to, lost track where I'm at. Item E, FY 24 audit findings. So what you will find in your packet, page 40, starting on page 46. This is the annual audit that we will have to do as long as our budget is over $1 million 2 consecutive years in a row. We are required to do an annual financial audit. This is, as noted, this is a draft. We contracted with Rochelle Thompson. Y'all approved that contract with her. So she is working on the finalized report. She was missing some of the highlighted areas, but not Danielle. Ooh, blast from the past. Vicky has gotten her that information. And so she's working on plugging that in, and we will receive a final report. She will also send it into the state on our behalf. So what I just want to step through the findings. So I'll let you read this in your leisure time, but if you scroll down, the findings start on page 53 of your packet. Starts with the letter A. I need to take notes on these. All right. So item number A is segregation of duties. What you will notice in the findings is that, she does realize we have limited staff. So there's only so much we can segregate certain things. We do our best where possible. So we are going to be evaluating procedures and looking for opportunities to segregate where it makes sense. And then we'll be seeking clarification from Ms. Thompson as needed on some of these items, because some of them, it's just, it can be difficult to do that. What was a good one? Well, like journal entries, we don't do that many, and right now Clerk Books does them for us. And so, is it enough to have them make a note that they did it and we supervised? We're looking at, is there possibly a report we can run that gets signed off on the journal entries that are done, that kind of thing. So we're looking at each of these, and we will do what we feel makes sense and make notes from there. Item B on utility billing. This is around delinquent accounts being reconciled. So what you're going to see is the recommendation. You may not have noticed on Vicky's report, her clerk's report this month, she started adding the total of what was delinquent so that we can reconcile back. And then, so you'll see more detail there, and we have confirmed that the history is available in clerk books. So even when an account is brought current, if we were to go back to a previous month where they were not current, it will show that history that they had an outstanding balance. So we can kind of track how those payments come within clerk books. And then also quick reminder as we go through these, this was for FY24. So that fiscal year closed on June 30th of 2024. It was around that time we did start keeping copies of the delinquent notices that are sent. So before we mail them out, we scan them in so that we have a copy. So one of the findings, especially in this particular, like we've already resolved, because as of FY25, we started keeping those delinquent notices. Item number C. I don't think we were aware that this had to be done, that you have to sign meeting minutes. That's already been resolved. So we already have a process in place where that is happening. Item number D on bank reconciliations. So this was some transactions didn't balance out. I'll let you read the details. This is a valid finding due to staff turnover at the end of FY24. So we are evaluating opportunities for the recommendation to do independent reviews on the bank reconciliations. So bank reconciliations happen, they happen on a monthly basis. It's just a matter of, do we need someone else to look at it and sign off? That will require some training of what we're looking at. But there is an opportunity to, again, segregation of duties somewhat, but that independent review of the bank reconciliation. But some of these, you'll note the dates in and around June 30th. I was doing the work at that point, and so we that it's a valid finding. So also resolved by the staff that we currently have in place. Item number E, certified budgets, the disbursements in economic development and debt service. So again, this is a valid finding and the underlying reasons have been resolved. For within economic development, we had a few things coded that we weren't expecting. Debt service is one we are going to ask clerk books about, because the debt service always looks negative since we transfer funds in. Like that one just represents that way in clerk books. Like we actually didn't go negative, but it looked like it. So we're just going to make sure we're doing that correctly. But yes, that is a valid finding. Item F, the electronic checks. Vicky is currently working with the bank to resolve this. The capability exists to be able to get an image of the back of the check. Right now, we only get an image of the front. So it just needs to be enabled on our tabs. Just working on that. Item G. We are researching around journal entries being approved by an independent person to just see what reporting is available there. Credit card policy, that is something we are researching and intend to resolve. I put June 30th on here. I have not consulted with city administrator. I've not consulted with Rebecca on if that's reasonable. So I would say researching and intend to resolve by June 30th for credit card policy. Item number I, having accounting policies and procedures. Same, we are researching, and that one I did confirm with Vicky. We intend to resolve by June 30th. So more to come to council on that. Item J, local option sales tax, ensuring that 50% is used for property tax relief and 50% for infrastructure, and recording receipts accordingly. That is, more information will be provided to council. We're looking at clerk books for reporting and tracking. And then we will be digging into the budget process to better understand how that money is spent. Right now, we use some local option sales tax for bond payments. we just aren't quite sure if it represents 50%. So now that Vicky's got one budget year under her belt, we're gonna dig in and just make sure we are utilizing 50% of that for tax relief. So just make sure we're getting close there, so. That is local option sales tax. Where are we at? Almost there. Item K, was there a question? Okay. So item K was supporting documentation cannot be located for one of the 30 disbursements. Again, this considering it was FY 24. We are considering that to be resolved with the other findings. So as we introduce that segregation of duties on processing invoices and things like that, that one will be resolved. Similarly, item L, timesheets. We weren't aware that we needed to keep copies of timesheets, so Vicky was able to go in and get what we had out of G-Works. It took an act of Congress to get it done, but she was able to restore those, and so now we're making sure we keep that. And we will be introducing procedures for the independent review, the reconciliation of timesheets for payroll, especially now that we have 3 folks available. That is going to help with some of these segregation of duties, independent reconciliation stuff. All right, and last but not least, item M is around surety bond coverage for city officials and employees. So this one we are researching with insurance because there is within chapter 64 of Iowa code, it does mention that bonds aren't necessary if you have an insurance policy, which I'm pretty sure we do. So we're gonna get validation of that. Vicky was a little confused because we did provide our insurance information to Ms. Thompson, and so we're gonna follow up on that one. And if not, I guess we'll figure out how to do some bonds. So all in all, nothing we can't address, which is very exciting, considering this was not an audit we were expecting to do because it was only our second consecutive year over $1 million, but now we know it's going to be annual and we are prepared. But yeah, we should be able to have resolved or should resolve nearly all of these findings. Any questions? I went through it quickly, so again, review at your leisure, but just know that staff and I are using this for some action items. Any questions? I think we have to approve them. I mean, I think it is what it is, but we just wanted to make sure that we, wanted to make sure we discussed those.
Yeah.
So. All right. Item F, discussion and possible action for Cintas Rug Service contract. So that is starting on page 57. Counselor Bozeman, I believe this started from you. Do you know anything about this?
Want to get it in here. Yeah.
So Cintas has a service where they will come in and exchange rugs for us, especially in any kind of business situation. So Vicky did quote what that would look like. So she quoted back door here, the rug that we have there, 2 in the front foyer. So those are the 4 that you see at $10 per unit. And then she quoted a heavier dutier one for out in the bay just before you come in the door. Because that's where a lot of stuff comes in. And so that's the 1 unit at $12.
Well, he'll keep his carpet clean.
Yeah, the light colored carpet. Who chose the light colored carpet?
Yeah.
So you said there's 2 in the foyer?
Right now we maintain 1. She had them quote 2. Because I think the one coming in is just inside the door, so we were gonna put one under the ledge. So if someone stands there for
Okay,
a bit, it would
that was
collect.
my other concern was like 40 people stand for interactions and that's where. we should play.
More so for winter. You
Yeah.
know, with snow and ice on their shoes and definitely.
So if my math is correct, it is $52 for those 5. And that just is at whatever frequency we want them to change it out. So if that's monthly or I think she had them quote every 2 weeks versus month, and it doesn't change. It's just per unit. What you will note on page 58 of your packet is there is a minimum $35 per delivery. So if we did decide to lower the number of units, basically, even if we get delivery, so. Or is it something we just want to try replacing these on our own and seeing if we can keep them clean?
I recommend that.
Okay.
That's my opinion on that.
Just purchase our own and replace as needed.
Somebody's gotta shake them and clean them and, you know, but I say let them guys do it, you know.
I'm gonna be really honest, I did not read the entire contract to know how long we're locked in.
5 years.
Okay, thank you.
It's just above this. It says 5 years up here. 60 months.
Be at that price too, right?
Oh, this agreement is effective as a date on term 60 months.
Yes, I believe it does lock in the price.
Yeah.
They do leave it open for an annual price adjustment. Thoughts from council?
If you can adjust that, the pickup time, you could probably do that. You know, I mean, exchange out time. Like, you know, it may be a month with these in here, but in the winter time, you could go down to every 2 weeks or, you know what I'm saying? Do that. Save you some, and save you some money, but yet have clean mats.
Yeah, I would say this time of year, we wouldn't need it more than monthly.
Right,
And yeah, they just, whenever we call, but they will do all of them at the same time.
right.
So it would be basically $52 per call.
So you're talking about calling them or is this automatically 2 weeks, but is that that's how I would have read this.
She had them quote for every other week, so twice a month.
Yeah.
But they basically said that we set the frequency.
We might only need them once.
I was saying, can that frequency
Yes,
fluctuate?
it sounds like it can. Basically, it's $52 per trip. So it did sound like that frequency could fluctuate, but I can confirm with Vicky if we need that clarification. So yeah, if we did it monthly, that's $600.
Yeah.
But and I mean, how much would we spend to buy all the ones we need? Maintain them, including keeping them clean in the winter. That's the hard part. How do we keep it clean? Do we have equipment to,
There's a vacuum in there.
but I mean, like for wet and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. Discoloration. So, I don't know. I like the service. I just don't know outside of winter how frequently we would need it. spend
It
100.
depends, like summertime, if it's raining and all that,
Yeah,
that's a big thing, and especially coming in out of the gravel and everything like that, so. I would at least like to see it done for a year, give it a try what,
yeah, if it's a 5-year agreement though,
We can go back and ask for 1 year.
yeah, we can ask them if they can do a 1 year.
And I'd confirm, again, if we can change the term or if we have to be locked in for a certain frequency.
So we could table it to next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't you do that?
okay, I'll make a motion, we table it till next meeting.
Motion by Bozenberg to table until the next meeting.
Mhm.
Do I have a second?
All right.
Second by Trum. Any further discussion? None. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Real quick to add there, it does appear that there is a section at the bottom of page 62 that goes over what the early termination costs would be. But again, they may have, maybe they have a 3-year or a 1-year contract that might be more expensive per visit.
But at least then we're not locked in.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'll confirm 1 year and then the frequency before next meeting. All right, anything else on that one? Brings us to old business. Item A, second reading of ordinance 03-2025-01, amending the height limitation for buildings in the industrial district. From my understanding, we did not receive any feedback into City Hall regarding this amendment. I've already read it, so I don't feel the need to read it again. Anything from council? Not, I would seek a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 03-2025-01, amending the height limitation for buildings in the industrial district.
So moved.
Moved by Trum. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by West. Any further discussion? Roll call. Counselor Myers.
Aye.
Counselor West.
Aye.
Counselor Sukup.
Aye.
Counselor Bosenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Trum.
All right.
That is the second reading. First reading was at a special meeting, so we wanted to make sure we had a second reading during a regular meeting. Is there any desire for a third reading? If not,
I'd like to make a motion to waive the third reading.
okay, I've got very specific language, so if I can put the words in your mouth, do I have a motion to suspend the rule requiring that an ordinance be voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is passed within respect to ordinance number 03-2025-01?
I move.
You don't want to repeat that?
Moved by Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trum. We'll go ahead and roll call that as well. Counselor Trum.
Aye.
Counselor Bosenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Sukup.
Aye.
Counselor West.
Aye.
Counselor Myers.
Aye.
All right, and we're not done. So now I would seek a motion to approve the final reading, passage, and adoption with respect to ordinance 03-2025-01.
So moved.
Motion by Bosenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Myers. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call. Counselor Trum.
Aye.
Counselor Bosenberg.
Aye.
Counselor Sukup.
Aye.
Counselor West.
Aye.
Counselor Myers.
Aye.
That motion passes. All right. Ordinance is officially adopted. All right, that is the end of our packet. We have 2 items left. Park project update. So we did receive a new design from HR Green with some adjusted pricing. They've got a couple of questions, one of which is surrounding the cost of the bathroom facilities. I hold firmly that that's important and we should keep it. I will tell you what they are quoting for the pavilion with restrooms is around 100,000. Without is about 30,000. But again, for that space out there, if we really want it to be a place where people are gonna gather, I know it made a big difference at ACDC when they had permanent facilities rather than having to rely on portable toilets, which out here tend to blow over and or pranksters, so on and so forth. So just temperature of council, if we're on the right page in that regard.
I think we should do it right the first time.
Okay.
I mean, we don't have many projects going on. I think we're good.
I think we watched the price of the toilets and everything, and we
Yeah.
don't get a $600 toilet,
Yes.
you know, so.
Yeah.
Can we get left-hand flushers versus the right-hand flushers? They're a lot cheaper.
So they did mention, because we looked into, right now we're looking at 2 unisex bathrooms. They looked at bringing it down to 1 and the savings was only like $5,000. And so for that, we were like, well, then you might as well just do 2. So it's not substantial. With that, they are trying very hard to stay within our budget of 250,000 that council has pledged. I will tell you, I currently have grant requests out for 25,000 from AARP and another for 150,000 from the Paul Bryan Foundation. Not sure when we will hear from AARP. I do know the board meeting for Hall Perrine is later this month, and they said we would know within days of their decision. So we should know relatively quickly. And then HR Green, we've already talked to them about bidding this fall. So bidding in like the August timeframe for spring construction, and even they could start in the fall. And they thought we'd actually get better pricing that way. So they were kind of excited about that shift in timeline. And I think we talked about that last meeting. So we're still in line there. And then honestly, with current economic developments, it might not be bad to wait a little bit and let some things settle out. So that's where we're at. So some of their recommendations were based on knowing what our existing budget is, but I am hopeful. I've got at least one other grant that I'm going to pursue as well, that I'm hoping will have limits as high as Hall Perrine, which will allow us to do everything all in one shot. So more to come on the park. No action needed from council. All right, last one, discussion and possible action regarding the water drainage issue on Longworth Avenue. So Mac did include this in his report as well. We did some work on this last fall, and then it kind of fell off in the wintertime because we couldn't get contractors out. We were waiting on one other opinion. We got one proposal, which I'm not even sure if they would honor at this point. I'm sure to a certain degree they would. One proposal to regrade the area, and were they gonna put rock down, Mac? Was that right, or were we just gonna seed
I
it?
think it was just
Okay, yeah,
just reseeded.
just reseed it. We were waiting on opinion from Pierce Tobin, because they were looking at potentially adding a tile, but rerouting it so that they didn't have to try and work with the mess that was already in there. They are still interested in, and Mac, let me know if I'm speaking out of turn, because I didn't talk to them, but it does sound like they don't think regrading will be enough, and so they have requested, before we move any further, that we get an engineering opinion on this. And so I have a pleasure of council if we send this out for a quick RFP for engineering services. We do not currently have an in-house engineer. So as of right now, anything that we do for engineering, we send out through RFP. That's been working pretty well for us to get competitive bids that way, so.
I just need to do it right. I mean, there's,
It probably costs more than we ever expect to fix this screw up, but yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
do it. We
but-
don't wanna stub our toe on it.
I don't wanna keep kicking the can.
Well, and even if they come back and think grading is enough, there are several fences in there. It's pretty narrow, so odds are we're gonna need construction easements. Like, they'll be able to help us get all of that in place. Otherwise, we're having to try and figure that out on our.
We really need to know what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
So I guess at this time, I'm asking for council approval to, put out a request for proposal for to engineer the water drainage issue on Longworth Avenue. I would ask, normally I would bring you what we're gonna send out, but I think I would like to move a little bit faster, and this one's a little more straightforward than like the park project or the other things that we brought forward, so I would ask that motion include that the mayor be able to write and distribute that RFP following this meeting.
You are looking for a motion?
Because yes, it will require, council will decide on the contract, they'll award the contract, so we'll bring you those RFPs next week. But I think even before I look at spending money, I'd like to at least have a motion that we approve engaging with engineering services for the drainage issue on Longworth, with the mayor to distribute an RFP ahead of the May meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Myers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Trum. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, you didn't.
Neither,
I wouldn't.
okay.
I have ayes from
Aye.
Rosenberg, Myers,
Yes. Aye.
Abstain from the. Abstain.
abstains from Sukup and West. Maybe not 100% necessary, but let's just keep our hands clean on this one. Yeah. So, all right. That is our agenda for the evening. Thank you all. I would look for any final comments. I'll start with Counselor Myers.
Just wanted to point out that Berna was honored at the foundation gala, and it's very well deserved.
For what superpower is this?
Apparently for my volunteerism in the communities and surrounding communities and work to help others.
We are proud to have you, Mr. Berna.
And
Glad to have you in
spending
our community.
numerous hours in city council meeting.
See, I
We appreciate everything you do. That's for sure.
humor. It was ironic because 2 nights before that, I was honored at the Waypoint. And I won the Hope Award for working with families that had lost someone from homicide. I have a strong passion for that. So, yeah, but got 2 awards in 2 days. It's kind of ironic.
Build a trophy case.
Yeah, it was just kind of funny how that worked. So,
We're proud to have you as part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Myers. Counselor West.
Nope, he stole my.
Like, how do you follow that?
No, stole my thunder, I was gonna say.
Should have started at the other end. Sorry. Counselor Sukup.
go with your thunder.
Counselor Rosenberg.
And just good job with running through all this. Yeah.
Counselor Trump.
Nothing.
All right. Confirmed date and time of next meeting, as stated previously, April 16th, 5 p.m. So it is a different time as well. Hope we can give all of us some evening back. So Wednesday, April 16th, 5 p.m. for the FY26 budget. With that, I would seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Moved by Bosenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by West. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned at 8:15 p.m.